Hello everyone. Today I am taking on the topic of significant figures and the error analysis. So first of all we will discuss what are significant figures. So significant figures are nothing but these are the numbers, or we can say digits, present in any given value which has some degree of certainty, about which we can be certain about its accuracy. So significant figures are nothing but these are the digits present in the given number which are certain about, right? So how many significant figures are there in any given number which we have given or which we have just measured in experiment? How many significant figures it can have? For this we have some certain rules. So here is the rules which I have just, here are the rules which I have just summed up. So the very first rule is that to know about the number of significant figures present in any given value. So very first rule is that all non-zero digits are significant. Whatever digits are there, all non-zero digits are significant. They will always be counted significant figures. I have taken the example just like this. Here are the numbers and here are the significant figures. For example, I have number 16. So because these numbers are non-zero, so there are two number of significant figures in this number. In this number of 3456, there are 4 non-zero digits, so therefore there are 4 significant figures. All of them possess some degree of certainty. Similarly, it is 15.862. It also possesses, it also has a non-zero digits, so all of them are non-zero digits, so they are 5 in number, so there are 5 degrees of significant figures. So this is how we count the significant figures. The very first rule is that all non-zero digits will be counted as significant. Second rule is that all zeros which are happening between non-zero digits, these are also significant figures. If there is any zero which is coming in between the non-zero digits, then that zero will also be counted as significant figure. That will also hold the degree of certainty. I have taken some examples here. The numbers are here, significant figures are here. So number is 5201. Because there is a zero, it is 5201. The first number. So there is zero which is coming between the non-zero digits 1 and 2. So that means that zero will also hold some degree of certainty. So this will also be counted as a significant figure. So therefore this number 5201, it has 4 significant figures. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Similarly, there is another example. There is this number 13,000 or 1,30,126. So it has also 0 which is coming in between non-zero digits. So this will also be counted as significant figures. So total significant figures in this number are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 number of significant figures in this number. So is the case here. It is 10,008. So it has 5 significant figures because there are 3 zeros which are lying between non-zero digits. The third rule for the significant figures is that all zeros to the right of the last non-zero digit, all zeros which are happening to the right of the last non-zero digit are not significant in numbers without decimal point. If the number is without any decimal point, then all zeros to the right, falling to the right of the decimal, of the last non-zero digit, they will be counted as insignificant. Means they will not be significant figures. So here is the number. So here is the rule. So very first number is that it is, let me write it here, 25400. So for this is the last, this is not a decimal number. The first condition, without decimal point. So there is no decimal number here, right, in this number. And this is the last non-zero digit. After that, all the zeros will be insignificant, means they are not significant figures. So therefore this number 25,400 have only 3 significant figures. Similarly, there is another number which is 650. So 5 is the last non-zero digit in this number, and all zeros to the right of that last non-zero digit will be insignificant figures. They will not be significant figures. So 650 has only two significant figures. Similarly, 6500, it has also two significant figures, because all zeros which we take on the right of last non-zero digit, they will be non-significant figures. Okay. Then next rule is that all zeros. Now we have the rules about decimal numbers. So all zeros to the right of the decimal point if we have a decimal number. So these two rules are about the decimal number. All zeros to the right of the decimal point. All zeros happening on the right side of the decimal, but to the left side of non-zero digit. If there is any non-zero digit on the right side, then all the zeros to its left and after the decimal place, they will be not significant. Few examples are here. So we have this number 0.0025. So in this number, this is the number I have written here. In this number, all zeros to the right of the decimal point. So here is the decimal point, and on the right, these are the zeros, and these zeros must be after the decimal point, and this must be to the left of a non-zero digit. So this is the non-zero digit. To the left, all zeros, they are not significant, so they will not hold any certainty, hence these will not be significant figures. So how many significant figures are there? Then only 2 and 5. So there are two significant figures in such kind of numbers. Another example is this 0.0456. So it has three significant figures, because after the decimal, to the left of non-zero digit, the zeros are not significant figures. So there are three significant figures in this number. So in the case here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros which are not significant figures. So the numbers which are left with are 4. So there are 4 number of significant figures. So this is the first rule about the decimal numbers. Another rule about the decimal number is that all zeros to the right of the decimal point, again this is the same decimal number, all zeros to the right of the decimal point and to the right of the non-zero digit are significant. So number just like this, suppose that we have this number 0.040, this is the number, then it is a decimal number, so both of these two rules will apply here. So according to first rule, this 0 which is falling after the decimal and to the left of non-zero digit, this is the non-zero digit, to the left of it after decimal, all zeros are non-significant. But this second rule says that on the right of that, the zeros which are falling on the right of this non-zero digit, they will be significant. So it has 1 and 2 numbers of significant figures. Similarly, the next number which is 12.0500, now it has six significant figures. So it is wrong here, it must be 6 significant figures, because this 0 which is falling after the decimal, but there is some number which is before, so this 0 is governed by the first rule or the second rule. All zeros between the non-zero digits, they will be significant, and after this all non-zero digit after the decimal place to the right of it, all zeros will also be significant figures. So it has 6 degrees of freedom, 6 significant figures. So it is 6 significant figures. Similarly, this number, it is 0.00400, so it has 3 significant figures, because to the left of decimal place, the zeros are not significant figures. They will be significant figures if they has been falling between the non-zero digits. So these are some rules about the significant figures. So I have just taken some examples here. The very first number is 27. So according to the rules we have just learned, how many significant figures are there? in 27 in this number. So there are, because there are only two non-zero digits, so there are two significant figures in this number. Second number is 303, because it has two non-zero digits, 3 and 3, it has two significant figures, plus 10 which is lying in between, it is also significant figure. So it has three significant figures. Then it is 2700, all zero to the right of non-zero digits are not significant figures if it is not a decimal number. So it has only two significant figures. Then we have 0.04, it has only one significant figure, because the 0 here, it is not significant, falling after the decimal to the left of non-zero digit. And here the digits which are significant figure are 1, 2, 3. Similarly here the number of significant figures are 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here the number of significant figures are 1, 2, 3, 4. Here order is not important here. We just don't care about what order this number is holding. It is 10 to the power minus 2 here, it does not matter. So here the number is 1.540. It has 4 significant figures. So these are the few examples of significant figures. Then we proceed to the next topic, which is about error analysis. The study of errors in the measurements of a given physical quantity, this is called as error analysis. So in this case, in this topic we try to find out what is an error, what are the probable causes of the error and types of the error, and what are the methods to avoid these errors. So this is all what we understand in this topic of error analysis. So first we try to define what is an error. In science we have to measure different physical quantities in order to come to some precise conclusion, accurate conclusion. Just like we try to verify the Ohm's law. In that case, we create, or we can say we assemble an electric circuit to verify the Ohm's law, and on the measurement of some certain values, we conclude about whether the Ohm law is verified or not. So if Ohm law is true, of course under some conditions, if those all conditions are met, or we can say satisfied, then Ohm's law should be verified. Then we should get a result according to what Ohm's law says. But there are some situations which cannot be avoided, or which remains there, due to which we always get some value which is not the accurate one, or we can say which is not the actual value of the physical quantity. So that means the value which we have found after measurement through experimental procedures has some degree of inaccuracy, right? So that inaccuracy is nothing but the error. That in that case we say that the measured value possesses some error there. So very first thing we try to understand is what is accuracy. Accuracy is nothing but it is the closeness between the measured value with the actual value. If there is some actual value, for example the acceleration due to gravity, it has the actual value 9.8 in general at average, right? 9.8 meter per second square. By experimental method we can find it to be 9.6 or 9.9 or just like that. So there is some difference between the measured value and the actual value. So the closeness between the measured value with the actual value, this closeness is called as the accuracy. Closeness means more the measured value is towards the actual value, the accurate is the value. That is called as the accuracy. So accuracy is nothing but the closeness between the measured value and the actual value. And precision, what is precision? So first thing I have discussed is it is accuracy. So, or let me just represent it here. So in here error analysis, the accuracy is nothing but the closeness of measured value with the actual value, and precision, what is it? The consistency in the measured value among themselves. Suppose that in any experiment we make a number of observations for a given physical quantity which we are interested in. So when we get more or less the similar results, we call it to be more precise measurement, right? Suppose that we have observed a potential difference in case of Ohm's law 10 times, right? So whenever 10 times on measuring the potential difference 10 times, we get more or less the same values. If we get the values which are very close to, all the 10 values are very close to each other, we call the values to be precise. If there is lot of fluctuation between the first, second, third and fourth and so on up to 10th value, then that means there is less precision in the measurement. So that is what consistency in measured value means, which we call as precision. So what is an error? Error is nothing but it is the difference between the actual value. So error, it is nothing but the difference between the actual value and measured value. Whatever difference we see either in plus or minus, with a plus or minus sign, we call it error. The measured value will be more, the error will come out to be positive, and if measured value is less than the actual value, the error will be negative. So actual value minus measured value, it is called as error. So there can be different types of errors which can arise in any experimental outcome. So we have in general we discuss three types of errors. One is the systematic error, second one is the random error, and third one is the least count error. So what are these? Let us try to discuss them one by one in short. Systematic error, which happen due to some cause and pass to the result, right? So there can be four ways in which this systematic error can arise. First one is the instrumental error. There can be error in the instrument due to any kind of variation. Suppose that if we have a screw gauge, if we have a screw, then the rings or we can say grooves of the screw may not fit with that in the slot. So there will be some error. So that is the error associated with the instrument. So there can be errors due to the fault in the instruments or non-accurate instruments. Second one is that personal error, or you can also call it as human error in the experiments. Suppose that there is some error due to the wrong method of measurement of the values, right? So that error is called as the personal error. Third one is the natural error. There can be some factors which cannot be avoided, just like physical conditions of temperature, pressure, just like that, which cannot be avoided. So error arising on that behalf, they are called as natural error. Fourth, systematic error is the imperfection in the experimental procedure or techniques. Probably the techniques or methods or procedure which we are following to carry out an experiment, it may not be precise one or accurate one. So the error arising due to that inaccurate method, or we can say procedure or technique, that error is called as imperfections in the experimental techniques. So there can be error due to such kind of issues. So there can be four types of error. So how these can be avoided? The first one, which is instrumental error happening due to the fault in the error, then we have to use the more accurate instrument, right? Personal error, avoiding the personal error using the correct method to measure the value, right? Third one is the natural error, to maintain the physical condition as far as possible, just like temperature, pressure or anything else like that. So if we maintain, or we can say keep the experiment under some constant physical conditions, natural error can be reduced. And third one is the imperfection, then we can also improve the methods or procedure or techniques or experimental setups in order to get more accurate results. So all kind of errors what we have, they are called as the systematic error. Any kind of error we can try to reduce the chances of error, or we can say reduce the degree of error, but we cannot eliminate it completely, because not each and everything is not perfect. So no result can be perfect. Second type of error is the random error. So what a random error is? Random error is the error due to unpredictable reasons. Just like if we have sudden variation in the experimental condition, just like temperature or pressure, which are not expected, then there will be some error which will arise in the measurement, and such kind of errors are called as the random errors. So these type of errors, random errors, can be reduced by taking the observation a number of times. More number of times we measure a value, more accurate result we can get. Third type of error is the least count error. The instrument which we make use in order to measure the value or any physical quantity, it also has some minimum value which it can measure with the accuracy. Let me give an example of simple scale. The simple scale, the minimum value it can measure, it is 1 millimeter. The scale cannot show the values or measure the values less than 1 millimeter, or which we can also represent as 0.1 centimeter. So that means a scale has the least accurately measured value, which is 0.1 centimeter. So that is the least count of that simple scale. So least count, it is nothing but the minimum value which can be accurately measured with the instrument. That is called as the least count of the instrument. So there can be use of there can be error due to use of different least counts. The result will be more accurate if we use an instrument of lower least count, with lower least count. Suppose that one instrument it is having 0.1 centimeter, as we have discussed in case of a simple scale. There is another instrument called as vernier caliper, which has least count of 0.01 centimeter. So that means the vernier caliper which is having 0.01, which is the smaller value than 0.1 centimeter, right, which is the least count of simple scale. So that 0.01 centimeter is the least count of vernier caliper. It is the smaller value. So that means vernier caliper is able to measure even the smaller values with more accuracy. So that vernier caliper is a more accurate instrument. So that will have the least chances of error. So that is what we understand from the least count error. So what are the methods to find or calculate how much error we have in the result? So that is called as by knowing that we can also eliminate the error. So there are some methods to judge the how much error is there in the result. So first one is absolute error. So what is an absolute error? Absolute error, it is nothing but the difference of the actual value from the mean value, or you can measured value, not mean value but measured value. So actual value minus measured value, this is called as absolute error. Or suppose that we have a number of observations. We have a number of observations. We have measured a physical quantity a number of times. Then we take the average of all these. If we don't know the actual value, then what we do? We measure the values. We find the mean of all these. Let it be x bar, for example, and take the difference of each and every value from this mean value. Suppose that the first value is x1, this is x2, this is x3, this is x4, this is x5, this is x6, x7, x8, x9 and x10. So we have 10 number of observations. So we have taken the mean of all these, which is we have represented as x bar. Now we take the difference of each and every value from this mean value, because mean value is what we call as more generalized or accurate result in comparison to all these observations. So we take the difference of each value from this mean value. So it is called as x bar minus x1. So this is called as the absolute error. in measurement of the first value. So is the case with the others. So here we get for example ninth value, it is x bar minus x 9. So this is called as the absolute error. So either we know about the actual value or accurate value, just like in case of acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 at an average meter per second square. So that is the actual value. But if we don't have anything like which is actual value, then for example in Ohm's law we measure the electric potential difference. Then in that case we may take the mean and find the difference of measured values from that mean value. So that is why I have written both these things. So absolute error, it is nothing but the difference of actual value or mean value from the measured value. So this difference is called as absolute error. Second type of error is the relative error. So relative error, it is nothing but measurement or comparison of the error with respect to the actual value, or we can say mean value, right? For example, here it is the absolute error. So how much this error is in comparison to the mean value, or we can say actual value. So that comparison measure is called as the relative error. So relative error, it is called as the absolute error that has right divided by actual value, or we can say mean value. So that is the relative error. Third is the percentage error. Third kind of the calculation of error is the finding the percentage error. So percentage error is nothing but relative error multiplied by 100. So that gives us the percentage error in the given observation. So that is all for now. In the next class we will take some examples or questions to understand all these things even better. Thank you.